Sometimes what goes into making a production like television is just as interesting as the finished piece. This movie will show what went on behind the scenes to create what you see on the screen. I'll start by narrating some still photographs, then I'll shut up and play the additional videos Chuck Scott took. This was my original idea for the title, and I made this long before the music was finished. I still think it's a neat idea to use Telecaster guitars as letters, but Chuck's title is more colorful and easier to read. When I finished writing and recording the music, I had only a few ideas about how I'd approach the video. So I had my wife Ellie take photos of me playing the various instruments to use as placeholders as I figured out which players would be on the screen and where, and what backgrounds I would use. I had to trim all the photos to leave just myself, then I placed them into the timeline of the Vegas video program. The very first version of the video was made up entirely of these static photos. Over time, as we shot the live playing, I replaced all of the photos one by one. Here are a few sections from a very early version of the video. I also took photos of the instruments and setup while I was recording the music, before I even started planning the video portion. This photo shows the foam I wedged under the bridge of my precision bass to get a punchier sound. Here's my Fender Sidekick guitar amplifier. I used a Realtrap's portable vocal booth as a screen, mostly to avoid reflections from the side of my equipment rack. When I recorded the guitars, I wore headphones, so none of the backing music got into the microphone. When I recorded the acoustic slide guitar part, I used a washcloth to damp all the strings except the B string I was playing. I also used a plastic pen to raise just that one string half an inch above the fingerboard. This made it a lot easier for me to play cleanly without noise from the other strings. This is Robert Aries, one of the finest musicians you'll ever meet and also the nicest person in the world. I wrote all of the music in Tele-Vision, but when I got to the clavinet part, I drew a blank. Robert came up with this funky part, which I simplified slightly and played on my Telecaster. Robert also gave me helpful advice on other aspects of the music production. This is the green screen setup, though later we changed all the lights to point up at the ceiling rather than at me and the green screen. But a few of the earlier clips were shot using this lighting arrangement. This is the Danbury Music Center where we did our very first video shoot. You'll see more of this room in a few moments. And now, here's some behind-the-scenes video presented in the order we shot them. Enjoy.
All right, I'm just going to do a walk around the room, show the setup looks like. There's this piano, there are the lights. There's one light over here, there's another light on the back. This is one with the diffuser on. We talked about a variety of instruments around the room. Hey, look who it is.
Hey, Chuck.
How you doing, Ethan?
Okay, hey.
All right.
We ready to have some fun here?
The star is here. Union rules. Let's go.
I brought my suit and everything.
All right, bravo. What are we going to be doing tonight?
You don't know?
No, I don't. Well, I kind of do, but for our audience back at home.
Well, we're going to record the bass drum, the timpanis, the tempo box, two kinds of snare drums.
Yep.
I don't know which snare drum is going to fit better
All right.
in the video. If I have a lot of stuff down low, I might use the high one.
Yep.
And there's some cymbal rolls. I got a string bass there. I have some crash cymbals hidden over there. And we're
Wait a minute, string bass is down here and crash cymbals. Okay, just check it. And then we got the grand piano and. Is that your best cymbal pose?
We're going to record some video, some piano here with green screen and
Very nice.
and lights and.
This long.
The piece is just over 11 minutes. This is the first thing that I'm videoing.
This is, but where in that piece does you see it foresee?
All throughout. Really, that's
really?
A whole pile of things.
Okay.
I brought my guitar amp, which is the only guitar amp I use for every single guitar part.
All right.
And I'm going to use that as a PA system here with this little portable DVD player just to play a CD.
All right.
It has all the cues that I've done.
Yep.
That I'm going to play along with.
So here we go. So you're basically jamming with yourself tonight, and these pieces are going to be sprinkled throughout your clip.
Exactly. I'm going to mime along with the music, which is now finally all done.
Yeah.
And this is the Music Center where I've played for many, many, many years with orchestras. And they have rehearsals here, and it's a venue. And they were kind enough to let me come here and do this portion of my video here.
And you said they have workshops here, that they're very good to the arts, they do a lot.
Yeah, they have 3 different orchestras that rehearse here. They have summer string tutorials, they even have a steel drum workshop.
Yeah.
They do a lot of things. It's a real community service.
And what do we know about that water cooler behind you?
That's when I first started playing in orchestras here, like 12, 13 years ago now.
Yeah.
You know, that was the one thing that really struck me is they don't have a water cooler.
Oh, that hurts.
So I got that, and that's my gift to them, and I've been paying for it ever since.
There you go. All right, brother. Here we go. All right. Are you ready for your mustache? Mm-hmm. I think you're doing a smoking job, actually. Just got a small glimpse of this. And I think Lucy would have been jealous. Oh, this is great. No, your badass is looking great. This, Hitler didn't have this good, a pencil. Yeah. All right, sorry. Yeah, focus. Sorry, don't pay attention to the man in the corner.
I don't think too much more, though.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think that's it.
I think minimal, right?
Is that okay?
Let's show his camera. All right, people, what do you think? If you saw this man in the post office, you'd be very concerned. All right, he's wanted by the government.
Yes, mas macho.
That's right.
Ricardo Montalban.
Yes, okay.
Oh, yak lord.
Yes, all right, that's it for us. I think you nailed it. Ellie, you give good mustache, girl.
The right way to hit a clave is you have to suspend it under, so it's like kind of vibrating free like that. Because if you hold it,
right. Oh, dead.
You damp the sound, and you get a click, but you don't get that pure nice tone. Tonight we're doing this African slit drum. It's a resonating box.
Yeah.
And there's slits here, and these slits actually make little, tines, vibrating tines out of the wood. So it's anchored here, and it's cut all around here. And I don't know if you got the sufficient. Maybe you zoom in.
Okay,
on the center part here. We have a djembe, which is kind of like a miniature conga. I'm not really a drummer, but I fake one on TV.
And Ed is.
And Ed is. So yeah, he gave me a lesson on this. And there's also Doombeck, and this is made out of porcelain.
Ooh.
And it's got, I don't have any idea how you adjust the tension on this. So this is a DPA 4090. It's a tiny, tiny condenser microphone. It's got a very, very accurate.
All right, I'm going to zoom in.
Sounds very low distortion. Should hold it like that.
That's crazy.
There's large diaphragm condensers and small diaphragm condensers. I call these tiny diaphragm condensers. Earthworks sells them, and I think there's some other companies. But this is affordably priced, DPA, and it's very high quality. And it's good to 30 kilohertz or something, which you don't care about, but that means it's really good to 20. So that's the point. So anyway, so I brought this over to Ed's because he hadn't heard it.
Yeah. And
he has a full Pro Tools setup. So we set it up and we actually recorded. I brought a backing track for him to play to. Put the mic here, got levels, he played it, and the whole thing came to within half a dB or 1 dB of peaking. It never went down. It was perfectly consistent. It was like the guy is a monster.
Wow.
So then he did the same thing with the Doombeck, and and played it. And we panned them hard left and right. It was like, wow, this is great. So, but I wanted to play it myself, so I tried and eventually edited together a usable performance. Okay, Ed was also nice enough to lend me this Roland JP8000 synthesizer, and this is a very hot thing. This is not what you're hearing on television. What you're hearing is a DreamStation synthesizer. It's a plugin that comes with Sonar. But this will be the controller, and it'll look like this is what I'm playing.
All right, I'm going to zoom in on this because it's just crazy. I mean, for the boys and girls at home, this is.
Here, why don't we,
how many friends do you have
here, why don't you zoom in on the Roland
that will lend you their most favorite prized toys that, you know, literally rock?
You know, originally I had the idea for this to start with some sort of an arpeggio, you know, like. But I wanted it to be really fancy. I had this grandiose ideas that I was going to play, and then this, and then, and be able to go, you know, I thought I would do all this tapping. Well, I can't do that, you know, I tried, you know. So I said, okay, well, let's make it something I actually can play, you know. So while this is going,
yes,
then I would have a slow melody. That way you have something fast happening and something slow. And,
yes,
you know, you don't have drums going on, so that sort of sets a tempo instead of drums.
right.
As well as setting the musical key, rather than...
Fascinating.
But so you have both things. You have the tempo of it, and, you know, anyway, so...
Right.
So the idea is you have that fast thing going on, then you have a slow... Now, of course, you know, to really make this happen, you got to get some amplification going. Okay, so now it's not too loud, but it's
right.
fuzzy. You know, and so forth. So I said, okay, well, now it needs one more thing, you know. And so I have that whole thing going on throughout there. So that's what makes the beginning.
All right, but the beginning of the beginning. Chuck, I love my instrument, Telecaster, electric guitars.
You want the touchy
Just you know, 2 minutes. You know, why did I go from my cello to my guitar?
Okay. Well, I started with the guitar. Well, actually, I started with the violin in 4th grade, but
okay,
for 5 years. But you know, when I was 16, that's when I started with the guitar, and worked at it real hard, just like I do with all the things I take on.
Yep.
And got pretty good after, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years, something like that. I was playing venture songs. It was in the 60s, but
wow.
You know, actually, you know, mostly play them. And then, you know, I got busy. I started a software company, and I did, you know, a bunch of other things for like 20 years, so I didn't really play the guitar much. You know, every couple of months, somebody would come over and we'd play for like 10 minutes. So, you know, but even after all that time, you know, it was still in the fingers. So when I started playing the cello when I was 42, 43. So when I started playing the cello again,
yeah,
I had, you know, I already had the fingers down loose from the guitar, so I did that and worked on that, and then did that for like, you know, I don't know, 10 years, and said, all right, enough of that.
And seriously, I mean, you wrote scores, you played in orchestras. I mean, it wasn't like you just dabbled in, like, Chuck, I took lessons every week, you know, right? I mean...
mostly I didn't take lessons. I took lessons for cello, though, for a while.
Yeah. Moving forward, Tele-Vision. Cello Rondo was a huge success.
Well, right.
Had a lot of fun.
Right.
And you're like, okay, what instrument can I love next? And say thank you to.
That's exactly right.
And here we are, sort of. You know.
Well, we're in the midst. The music is written.
Right.
Lucy has done the mastering on it.
Yeah.
And you know, I've listened to it in a bunch of places inside. You know, I'm happy with it. So,
yeah.
So now we're onto the video. I'm going to try to do 6 violin parts tonight. Actually, there's about 8 of them because I have 3 violins doubled and 1 cello doubled, so that's 8 players. But actually, I also had the cello play the lowest couple of violins, and I had the violin play an extra version of like the high, you know, the 2 cellos an octave higher. So it's actually like a 10-person orchestra double, something like that. So this was the hardest instrument to learn for sure, because I learned a bunch of instruments to do this video, and I never played the banjo before, never had one, never picked one up, never saw it. And I've played a violin before, but it's really hard, and it's very different from the cello. I'm going to set a loop with not a whole lot of extra time between, because we only need a couple bars. I might lose the first one coming here and getting set in place and everything. So there's 6 violins to be done, and there's actually 3 parts. So I'm going to do one, and it's going to loop around. I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to loop around, but I'll change glasses maybe. I really am grateful to Morgan and Barry at East Coast Music Mall. They were nice enough. They saw my original cello video and they really liked it. So anyway, so they liked it and they said, yes, you can borrow anything you want. So I needed from them this violin. And they lent me a mandolin. Yeah, the same thing, except it's got frets.
But you should preface, Barry is
and
not
they
just...
also let me Morgan's banjo.
Right.
Which, you know, it's a perfectly nice banjo, not a great one, but it was okay. And I was able to EQ it and make it sound pretty good. And it looks good. Barry Lippman at East Coast Music Mall is really quite an awesome dude. He's like a luthier and really does a great job. And when I went there the other day to borrow this, he was working on like a really nice violin, and he had the whole thing in the clamp, and he's doing quite a professional job. There was a lot of found percussion in this. My partner Doug Ferrara has like a room full of all kinds of percussion things, and I have a lot of stuff. I have tambourines, I have hitters, I have various stuff in triangle. But I wanted to use the idea of found percussion. That's why I'm hitting like a big saw, for cutting branches, and a small hacksaw, and a liquor bottle, and a bunch of things. So it's and so the same with the chime. That's just a pipe that I happen to have from when I was collecting the signs off telephone poles. Of all the found percussion, I think I like the liquor bottle best, because you gave me that. It's a bottle of 20-year-old scotch.
Something like that.
Single malt scotch. And so the scotch was fabulous. But I picked a bunch of bottles, and that sounded the best. And I got like 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. And took out the corks and hit them with the metal hitter that I got with my triangle. And
that's because of the peat. It sounded good. All right,
so now just had the purest tone that really cuts through.
It's a good bottle, and we had good fun with that. Worst case scenario, what didn't work? What did you pick up and try to hit that just didn't,
Well, I had a hacksaw sawn wood. I actually put a big 2x4 over my garbage can so the dust would fall into the garbage can. And I went, and when I tried EQing it, I would echo. I tried everything.
It didn't work.
It didn't work.
All right, and this is what started it. We said, wow, we're going to eat tonight.
You got to get him. He's being adorable.
Oh, no, sorry. Sorry.
He's being adorable. He's going to flop.
Sorry.
He's going to flop.
Oh, there you are. There he is.
Smile at the camera
You
there.
flapping.
See, whenever I would take out the camera, he just stops. He's doing the most adorable thing, and then you take out the camera.
I am. Oh, that's it? Okay.
And then the piece de resistance is our dinner.
Yes.
It took me about 40 minutes to prepare this. This is roasted veggies with potatoes.
And this is famous Ethan dish.
This is, yes, it's all fresh, 2 kinds of squash and red peppers, cauliflower, broccoli. Potatoes with seasoning, and the potatoes go in early and cook with broil, and then this goes on top, and that broils and takes over.
And then how do you put it together?
Just scoop it out and put it on a dish and shovel it in.
There you go.
Well, I was 15 and you were 19.
There you go.
Wow. And music was the hook?
So that makes it 40 years, yeah. Yeah, we were both guitar players.
Yeah. We were good for then.
It's still great, man.
And then you got really good.
Yeah, that was. I was going to say something about one of you went differently, but that's okay.
Well, we played in the band together.
Okay.
And we used to do all kinds of dueling leads and Yardbirds songs with harmony guitars and stuff. And his brother played bass. It was great.
Yeah.
And then he got really good, and I got intimidated, so I switched to bass, which I really liked. I mean, I liked bass. It wasn't only being intimidated.
Anymore,
I have tapes of Phil from 1970. Where he split. No, that doesn't suck. That's state-of-the-art guitar playing. I think it's still state-of-the-art. That stuff you did at the studio we had in Weston. I sent you all those MP3 files a couple years ago when I went through it all. And I thought it was amazing. Right, so we have Phil wired
Yeah.
up here with a wireless transmitter pack.
Yeah. And why is he here? What did he do? I mean, you know, we are in television mode.
Well,
so.
that's true. Well, you know, with my cello rondo video, I did everything myself. That was the goal. I'm going to play all these parts myself and do everything on the cello.
Yeah.
And that was going to be the goal on this. And then I was over at Phil's, I don't know, a couple of months ago, and he put on some jazz station on the MP3 player, internet radio station, whatever.
Shoutcast.
And he starts playing along. It was like unbelievable. It was like better than Jeff Beck. It was just like amazing. He's doing all this wiggle bar stuff. It was just like the coolest thing I ever heard in my life. So I said, you know, man, it's all going to be me, but I also want you too. You know?
So it's quite a compliment.
There we go.
Well, I'd
Well,
say it's the other way
considering,
around.
you're doing everything else.
Tell us a little bit about the instrument that we have, because I've seen this before. You made this instrument. How long ago did you make it? What was going through? I mean, you know, high level, not
I
too
made
deep.
this many years ago when I was a youngster, and I didn't have any money.
All right.
And I thought, I mean, I had a guitar already, but I thought, I'd like to have a Stratocaster. Why don't I make one? Because I used to like to make stuff. And so...
Was that the first guitar you
I
made?
actually cut this out with a handsaw, you know. I mean, I didn't even have a saber saw to cut this out with.
Wow.
So this was a handsaw and then a rasp to round it all off and stuff. And so.
It's gorgeous.
But, you know, I was like 22, 25.
That's that old?
This body is, yeah.
Oh, I had no idea. The thing that impresses me the
Yeah.
most about what Phil has done with
Yeah.
guitar making
All right.
is, and he's made hollow body electrics. I mean,
He's made everything.
But he makes the necks. And when people make guitars, even pretty advanced people,
Yes.
they make a body and they buy a neck because the neck
Okay.
is really hard. Phil wrote his own computer program. He's a computer programmer, an expert computer programmer.
All right.
He wrote a program to print out on two consecutive pieces of paper on a laser
I think
printer.
I saw this once.
The where the frets go, so he makes his own template, and he can,
Okay.
and the program is scalable, so he can do it 22 frets, 24 frets, whatever he wants, any neck length he wants, and he makes his own necks. He buys raw fret material in like rolls.
Wow.
It's like, yeah. Well, I have all the pictures of the guitars you've made, and when we do our making of segment in the DVD, I'm going to show all your
Wow.
guitars that you made.
The wall.
And,
It's
yeah, the wall of
amazing.
guitars
It's
is
an amazing
great.
wall.
I put that. Somebody was talking in one of the news groups. Is how do you hang your guitars? You know, if you have a bunch of guitars, what do you do with them? So I posted a picture of I took at Phil's of his wall of all his guitars. I said, oh, and by the way, he made all those guitars, including the necks. I wanted to try to show some vibrato. When I recorded the audio, there was no way I was going to do it and play it that way in tune. So I did it as absolutely stable as I could. And in one or two places, I went into SoundForge and fixed the pitch of a note. When violin players and cello players go from one note to another, and this is an interesting side story, because there's a slide where it goes. When a violin or cello, you don't go, wow, and that's really crude. So usually you lighten the bow pressure halfway, so it's wow, wow, and you kind of get soft. And singers do that too. I mean, any expressive instrument, a clarinet, a trumpet, anybody that's going like doing a glissando kind of a thing will get softer in the middle. So it's not wow, it's and you kind of drop the volume and come back up. So I don't have any control over this thing. You know, I'm not a wind player. So I just played it as straight as I could, fixed the pitch where I had to.
Yeah.
And there's two places where it does a little octave. The first one I dipped it down, and it's very, very subtle. And unless you heard it one versus the other, right, one after the other, it'd be harder to
comparison.
But it's really there. I mean, if you do that, you go, whoa, yes, this
Right.
is much more pleasant and much nicer and more professional sounding.
Right.
And the second time, I think I just left it. It reminds me of the words hooray. Whenever I hear that second, it sounds like hooray, and it's just so happy. You know, I just
great.
like that.
Hooray.
So anyways, I'm going to try to fake a little vibrato, and who cares if it's in tune now. So I'm starting, 4 bars early, give me time to go push the start button and run over here and find my spot.
All right.
And
slide.
And get in here live. Right? There's 3 slide whistles. At one point, there's a slide whistle chorus. When I sketched out as MIDI, I did it all with flute synths, and then replaced all the MIDI with real
And what key?
slide whistle. This is in the key of E. The whole piece is in the key of E.
Cool.
So and these chords are E to G sharp minor. So there's one slide whistle part that goes all the way through, and I forget if he's on screen the whole time steady. I'm just going to play the whole thing.
Yeah, fine.
All the way through, and then there's a part where there's 3 slide whistles, and there's a part where there's 2. So here we go. With
We got 32
the first
minutes
slide
of tape
whistle,
left.
Main
so-
guy. All right. 30 minutes.
First guy.
First guy. He
Maybe
goes all the way through
31.
after the classical.
I lied.
Tonight is the last night of shooting.
Okay.
Except for the drums, but tonight we're going to wrap up. Tonight is bass playing.
Yeah.
Going to do pretty much all the bass parts. We did that one little part with a picked clean bass. But what's interesting about tonight, and we had a little bit of this the other night with the guitar quartet, but most of this I've played not by reading music. All the percussion parts, you just say, okay, the hit is on the 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and you hit it. And that's easy enough for 4 bars to remember that. And all the guitar playing was improvised originally. I mean, I just played a bunch of things until I found something I liked. But all the orchestra parts were written out. The bass parts mostly were written out. And that means either I memorize a whole pile of stuff or I have to read music. So it's a lot easier to read music than try to memorize a whole pile of stuff. I did a lot of memorizing on all the guitar leads the other night. I mean, I got up at 4 in the morning and prepared different backgrounds to play along with for all of those, featuring each lead that I was playing with. And that was really a lot of work. I mean, I worked from 4 in the morning till like 11 in the morning before you probably even got up.
And this is after a year or plus of dancing with the music, so it's not like this material is new to you, right?
Right. But, well, you know, one of the things, there's a lot of things, I mean, all the guitars that I'm playing on screen, there's more than that. I mean, some places, in the California rock thing, there's like 5 different guitars going on, but you're only seeing 2 or maybe 3 when the little close-up comes in at the bottom of the screen. So what I had in my mind for some of these, when I was like, oh yeah, well the lead goes da-da-da and plays this, but actually that was like, part of it was, you know, some other guitar that wasn't on screen. So I knew that I had to pay attention to what notes I was playing and what each person was doing. So I prepared separate, you know, I think there were like 7 or 8 or 9 different backgrounds.
Yes.
And I turned off other guitars so I could really focus on what I had. And I just played it over and over and had to practice and had to memorize all these things to really be able to do it. Some of the things are very short. I play for 10 seconds, then that player is gone from the screen. But one of them, I'm on camera for like 1 minute and 45 seconds straight with the same, and I had to memorize all that and be able to play it exactly with every single movement and every pick and every single thing exactly perfect. So, but anyway, so then we come to the dilemma of the reading music. So the guitar quartet I was reading, and I think you can tell I'm wearing my glasses. Those players are wearing glasses, and I keep looking over to the left. In fact, here, why don't you show show what we have from my perspective?
Yes.
And this is music that Chuck printed out on his oversized printer, so it's about 3-4 times bigger than normal. And standing here, I can almost read it without my glasses, and I'm going to see if I can do that tonight.
Okay.
But I had this idea, to make the music reading easier. I've seen ads for these little tiny TV projectors that clip onto your glasses. And the claim, and I've never seen one or used one, but the claim is that you put this on your glasses and it's like you're seeing a huge, huge, huge screen, but of course it's only about 1 inch and it's right in front of your eyes. I said, geez, wouldn't it be great if I could print microfiche-sized music onto plastic film and put a whole page of music down to the size of, what I could scotch tape inside one side of my glasses.
Very funny.
And read that, and nobody would see it.
Right.
And I'd be perfectly comfortable. And I even did a test on paper.
Oh, God.
And I don't know how close you have to zoom in to see this.
Let me actually let the camera do the walk in. It's crazy.
But this whole thing here in the middle is just about the size of my glasses.
Wow. Yes.
It was a great idea. It was a really cool idea, but it didn't work.
Why not?
Because when you put something that small this close, you can't focus on it.
Oh, interesting.
And I even called my expert friend Bill Epler and said, well, Bill, how do they do that with these cameras? He said, well, they got lenses and they focus it and beam it inside your eye at the right aspect or whatever to make it visible. But it was such a cool idea, I thought it was worth mentioning. So anyway,
okay.
In lieu of that, I actually, that's when I asked you if we could use an oversized printer.
Now, didn't we discuss potentially putting a projector back there?
And we did. That was another thing. But then I need a big screen, and
Right.
Could have had some advantages. That could have been really, really big, and it could have been centered near the camera, so I wouldn't have to look off to the side.
And if I had a teleprompter, would that have helped?
Only if it was really, really,
Really big, right? Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
but and a friend of mine offered to lend me a projector.
Okay.
But you know, this will work in between memorizing and just practicing. You know, like the old-fashioned way.
The old-fashioned way.
You know?
Really know your material.
Yeah. So we have all these pieces, and they're all over to the side. So we'll get this as close as we can to
Yeah.
what I can see in front. You know, not too far over to the side. But just be just off camera.
And then we had some hand-drawn ones too, but we have that in other footage, don't we?
Yeah,
Because it's
yeah.
pretty funny to splice that in, the hand stuff. I mean,
Well,
actually, I thought you did a good job.
I have.
You know.
I happen to have that right.
As a guy who used to be a sign painter, I mean, was in the business. I think that's great, awesome.
Yeah. And there's a picked bass played through an amp, and I actually recorded it through an amp. Didn't use a direct connection, which is usually, even when people use amps, they usually also take a DI feed. In this case, I just put my DPA microphone right in front of my my bass amp, you know, 6 inches in front, and got exactly the right sound I wanted, and that microphone captured that sound exactly, and that's what you hear. There's very little EQ, very little compression, very little stuff going on. When I was young and played in bands, and this was around the time, you know, of the rock and roll and the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and Led Zeppelin, and you know, when you bought a Fender bass, there was a finger thing here, a place to rest your hand against, and you're supposed to play it with your thumb. So the first thing you do is you take that off, and inside, underneath this metal thing, there was a block of kind of rigid foam that damped the strings, and it made the strings kind of rather than ring out. So the first thing we would always do, my friends and I, when you get a bass, is you take that up. So you get all the sustain and you play it through an amp and you turn it up and you get this big long singing sustain bass tone with distortion, you know, like Cream and bands like that. Well, now fast forward to like past, you know, the year 2004, 5, 6, whatever, and saw the Standing in the Shadows of Motown movie, and they're talking about James Jamerson, who was the greatest bass player in the world of all time, still, I think, and you know, and that was the sound I was always trying to get. Well, he had the foam in the bass.
He left it in?
Right, exactly, and that's how you get that. And the advantage, and people try to do this electronically with compressors and
Yes.
gates and with all kinds of stuff to get this punchy sound. And the idea is when you first hit the note, you get a large thunk initially, but it dies out quickly rather than just go boom. It's like boom. And a very punchy sound. It's a very punchy sound.
Okay.
So when I did this, I knew I wanted that kind of a punchy sound. So I actually put, and I don't know if you can see this here,
Zoom in, foam.
I put foam in here to damp the strings. I actually got it positioned very carefully when I did the audio recording. And so, I mean, of course, obviously you have to play it funky and punchy also. You can't,
Right.
you know, this is not like a magic panacea that's going to make an amateur bass player sound like James Jamerson.
Right, right.
But it's actually an important concept to make to get that punchy sound. And I also noticed that when I first started playing in the Danbury Symphony, and I sat behind Nancy Sudik, who's the director of the whole music center, and she's an excellent French horn player. And I noticed as she's playing notes, and we're playing some orchestral piece, or they were, I wasn't playing that night, and I noticed that she would play the French horn, and instead of going ba, ba, she would go ba, ba, and every note had an attack that was loud, or fairly loud, or whatever volume it was, and it would come down to a lower level and hold there.
Wow.
And every note she played was loud for, you know, an eighth of a second, and then it would come down and sustain. And that's an important principle for orchestra playing and ensemble playing, and it's an important principle for bass tones. That way the note gets a lot of articulation and is very clearly heard. Bump, 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 bump. But it still sustains, but it doesn't blast over and block everybody else that's playing.
And blur.
It articulates the one note for a fraction of a second, comes down quickly. Now a grand piano doesn't do that unless you play with the pedals. And a fuzz guitar isn't going to do that, and an electric bass without the foam isn't going to do that.
Interesting.
So that's kind of the purpose of the foam, and that's an important musical principle, is that kind of articulation. When I'm playing, you might notice I always rest my thumb on the pickup.
Interesting.
Because you need an anchor, and that way
Got it.
And I know exactly where the strings are. And the same with the cello, same with the violin, same with any instrument. You need to know where you need a reference point.
Using a favorite cinematographer's technique,
Of a cello book on top of a guitar amp.
top of an old Fender amp.
All because I don't have a good tripod that gets all the way down.
This foot
Yes.
helps make the women across America cry.
You are a composer for a very famous soap opera.
That is correct.
You know, you're a staff composer and you write lots and lots of cues and that's what makes the
That's what
women
makes
cry.
the women
Right.
cry. So my foot is part of that ensemble. I started out life as a drummer, and then I saw the errors of my ways, and I learned the piano at Berklee College of Music, and from there I learned the guitar and I studied composition, and I've been writing for television and film for many years now. And Ethan has been actually recorded my very first radio commercials at Ethan's studio in Norwalk, Connecticut, back in 1979 at the Recording Center.
So is that how you guys met?
So, well, actually, I knew about Ethan because he was famous around Norwalk, Connecticut, for us younger guys. You know, Ethan was part of the older guy group. And they were the cool guys who played in all the cool bands. So you know, I'd known about Ethan and met him a couple of times probably. And but then I actually worked with him then when I had gotten out of school.
Oh, cool. Cool. And drums to piano, what was the error of the ways that said I got to learn piano? Was
I
it?
couldn't play chords or melody on the drums.
I'm not a drummer at all. And when I was writing the drums, you know, I don't know what I'm doing. And I got a lot of help. I had Doug Ferrara came over here, Scott Veenstra, who works for me in Brooklyn, came out one weekend. And both of them had ideas for, you know, well, drummer can't play all this at the same time. You can't do these cymbals and toms. But Ed came over one night. But Ed and I spent like 2 hours examining every hit of every bar of everything in there. You know, and Ed would say, "Oh, these are the things that drive me nuts about MIDI drums is when they do this." You know.
We ended up with a pretty good sounding track.
Yeah, I think it sounds mostly real.
Yeah, there's just a couple of 3-arm parts, but
Right.
we're going to work around that here.
Right,
Well, when I was fantasizing that I was going to play the drums or fake the drums for the video, I figured I would sit here and play everything I could. You're right, and then I would have a second me over on the cymbal, just doing the cymbal part, and it would be two of me on the same drum set. But you know, and then I came to my senses and said, "There's no way I can do this," and you know, make this look like a real drummer.
Ultimately, Ethan, you programmed all the drums in MIDI?
I programmed all the drums as MIDI. I
We-
programmed the whole piece as MIDI.
Okay.
And the drums too.
Ethan, after all the experiences you've gone through, a new appreciation for drums, anything you learned high level that you could just like, you know, hit, it was like, Chuck, this on drums.
No, I still basically agree with all the drummer jokes.
Okay.
You know, what do you call somebody who hangs around with musicians? A drummer. You know?
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
But no, of course, drums are an instrument, and you know, my friend Dave Finlayson is a very good drummer, and he's shown me a lot of things and told me a lot of good drum stories. He went to see, and I forget who it was, but it was some fairly famous jazz trio, and he was really liked the drummer because he said, you know, he made it talk. It was lyrical. He would hit the drums in so many different ways, and he would push on the head as he hit it to go. You know, it was just doing all these tricks. So drums certainly are a musical instrument.
Yes.
Very old is what I love about drums. It's primal. It's very old. It's very, you know, it's rhythm. It's roots.
It's cool stuff, man.
It's the bottom of certainly in pop music. It's probably the most important thing outside of the vocal, because if you have, I remember someone saying once, if you have a great drum sound, you can have other sounds in the recording that are not so great, and you can still make a great recording out of it. But if you have a crummy drum sound, but you have a great bass sound and a great guitar sound, you have a crummy recording.
Come on in, sir. Announce yourself. This is a character that we did not see.
Well, you know, there were several characters that we did not use. This is one, and I think it's really obvious why we didn't use this. And it's not only because of the wrinkles, but, you know, the skin color doesn't match. And, you know, Michael Rinaldi at the Arabesque costume shop was really careful. He said, look, if you really want to do this right, you have to match your arms to this color, you have to get the makeup. And we actually bought some of the makeup to seal the lines.
Yes.
But, and there are holes here for my ears. I didn't bother.
Hold on, let me just zoom in for the people at home so they can really get an appreciation for what we're talking about here.
Exactly.
This
the
is-
idea was I was going to do a bald-headed bass player for one of the characters. But, and you know, my ears, or I have holes here for my ears to come out. I'm not bothering with that because you can see this is like stupid. And, you know, the other costume that didn't work out was the big ZZ Top beard for the banjo player. And we actually have footage for that, and I'm going to show that. But it was, you know, it just didn't work, you know.
The thing that doesn't work is the piece underneath.
Exactly, right.
That looks like you got like a chicken, you know,
Right. And
kind of
there's
going
probably a way to do this, and if Michael
Yes.
were here, he would know exactly what to do, and he
Yes.
would have all his makeup stuff.
And this is what
He's a
Hollywood
real
does.
professional. All right, this is quite
That's
enough of this.
it. You're going to be scared of yourself. There he was,
That
boys
was-
and girls.